This is CBC Vancouver News.
Labor Day weekend travel plans, get ready.
We've got about 1,500 sailings in place.
The flights are booked at nearly full.
We hit the ferries, the airport, and the highways to see what travelers should expect. Plus, should BC change its wildfire fighting approach?
If others in the world, Australians and elsewhere can do it, we can absolutely do it here in British Columbia.
Political pressure on the province to change its strategy around evacuation orders. And pushback to the return of a controversial program.
To make a decision like this is really unfathomable.
Anger over the redeployment of police officers to Vancouver schools this fall. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Dan is away tonight. It's the Labor Day long weekend, and you know what that means. A flurry of travel at the ferry terminals, the airport, the border, and on the highways. BC Ferry says it is expecting 500,000 passengers over the long weekend, and after a summer plagued with problems, including cancellations and delays due to one of its largest vessels being out of commission and staffing shortages, the corporation says this time it's prepared for the influx of travelers.
We've got about 1,800 employees working per day over the long weekend. We've got about 1,500 sailings in place. So we do expect to move lots of customers, probably over 500,000 customers, and about 200,000 vehicles.
BC Ferry says this August long weekend saw a 23% reduction in customers driving up to the terminals without a reservation in comparison to last year, leading to a 56% drop in passengers with vehicles experiencing sailing waits and a 20% increase in foot traffic. And over at Vancouver International Airport, staff are also preparing for a very busy weekend. YVR says it is expecting more than 316,000 passengers. That's an increase of more than 60,000 compared to last year. Here are some of the top destinations for travelers out of YVR this weekend.
Calgary, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Montreal are the top destinations across Canada. Into the U.S., travelers are going to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Vegas, of course, New York, and Chicago. And then from an international perspective, where travelers are headed from YVR, London, Hong Kong, Delhi, and Frankfurt.
With it being the last long weekend of summer, officials are reminding people to pack your patience, plan ahead, and arrive early. And if you're planning on hitting the highway this long weekend, good news on the gas front. Prices at some Metro Vancouver pumps have taken a bit of a dip. Prices have been surging above the $2 mark this summer, but today dropped as low as $1.91 a litre. One expert says it's because of local refining and transporting capacity. Still, he cautions prices can be hard to predict in the long run.
We are living in a world with volatile oil prices on international markets that will always translate into up and down swings at the pump. But there are also increasingly shortages in refining capacity. And when we reach these capacity limits, and that means prices will go up as well.
He says gas prices generally come down in September, but that's when diesel prices usually increase. Still on the roads, one of the Okanagan's busiest stretches between Kelowna and Penticton will remain closed throughout the long weekend thanks to Monday's rock slide.
Yesterday, we were able to complete an aerial assessment of the slide, and what that identified for us was actually a risk of further rockfall. We've identified tension cracks that are 2 to 3 meters wide, and some of them are over 5 meters deep. So obviously, this is causing a significant amount of concern for additional risk to the highway.
Crews are still assessing the area just north of Summerlin. The Transportation Ministry is urging drivers to fuel up, bring extra supplies, and be prepared for conditions to change quickly. The roads will be patrolled to provide extra help if needed. The province has warned the detours will likely tack on an extra hour to an hour and a half. As we usher in September, some recent rain and cooler temperatures have helped the wildfire situation in the south, but in the north of the province, dry and windy conditions may ramp up the risk once again. As Renee Filippone reports, crews both in BC and the Northwest Territories are still facing danger.
Strong winds have fire crews in the north working hard to protect Hay River. It was evacuated weeks ago, but the fire is still dangerously close.
Working to push back on this fire that's just 1.5 kilometers away from downtown. And our team's doing a really good job. Boots on the ground, aircraft in the air, heavy machinery doing hard work.
Fires have also forced the closure of a section of highway leading to Yellowknife. The re-entry plan was paused, but there is positive news for evacuees. The city released a schedule that will see the general public headed home next Wednesday.
We're not going full service right away. You know, when you come back, the hospital will have fewer services. We won't have like the arenas open the day after you return. Grocery stores will have a few staff, but they won't be fully staffed.
Okay, here we go.
In BC, the situation is improving as the reality of the destruction is setting in.
That's my house. Oh my God.
This is all that's left of Mariko Nagata's West Kelowna home. She went on an organized bus tour of her neighborhood.
I was astonished at how forceful nature was to take out. I could see like through my garage way into the other backyard. So yeah, everything was gone.
So my mission today is going to be to get rid of these.
In the Shuswap region, crews are trying to make the area safe by taking down burned trees that pose a danger, while others continue to contain the fire.
This fire isn't going to be put down until the snow flies.
And there are already lessons learned when it came to fighting this fast-moving fire. In recent days, locals who stayed in evacuation zones have been given training to work with fire crews.
I really think that we need to put this type of training on at least annually. Every spring it should happen before the fire season.
Preparing for the next fire season before this record-breaking one is even over. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Campfires are once again allowed in the Southeast Fire Centre, mainly because of successful firefighting efforts.
Due to the hard work of our crews and our resources, as well as ongoing favorable weather conditions in the past 2 weeks, all of our previous wildfires of note are now either considered being held or under control.
The ban was lifted after a shift in forecast and recent rainfall, but in Cranbrook, locals have mixed feelings about it.
It's been one of the worst summers that I can remember with the amount of fires and the size of the fires. It was so dry, and then it was so hot as well, combined with the dryness. We just didn't get enough moisture until the last couple of weeks. I think that's made a huge difference in the decision to lift the fire ban, is because there's been so much moisture.
It's better to be safe than sorry. Too many people have lost lives and homes, and it's just so dry and so hot, the hottest year we've seen. So yeah, I don't believe it should be lifted right now.
It's probably about time. I think things are much better. So.
Yeah, we got some rain this week, so you're not worried that, you know, it's too dry out there still?
It's been a long haul, and I think people need some relief.
Category 2 and Category 3 open burning is still banned. This means any fire larger than 1/2 meter wide by 1/2 meter high. It's been 2 weeks since a state of emergency was first declared as BC's wildfire season ramped up. Evacuation orders are still affecting thousands of people in the Okanagan and the Shuswap region, but the official opposition is calling on the government to review how those orders are being managed. As Justin McElroy reports, they want the province to look halfway across the world for inspiration, where a stay or go strategy gives evacuees the option of leaving or staying behind to help fight the fires.
In the last decade, BC's wildfire seasons have changed. So, should the Wildfire Act that governs the province's response change as well?
There's a tremendous amount of lessons that should have been learned by now from previous fire seasons that just haven't fully been embraced.
BC United MLA Todd Stone argues tensions seen in the Shuswap the past few weeks, combined with the Monty Lake fire in 2021, show a need for new rules around how evacuation orders are managed.
If we want different results, we have to do things differently.
He says the BC Wildfire Service needs more money, particularly for community engagement. Stone claims more support is also needed for regional districts, who have often been overwhelmed when climate emergencies begin, and he's pushing the government to look to Australia, where wildfire volunteers play a bigger role, including defending their property.
We can work on insurance, we can work on liability, we can work on safety certifications and training, all that stuff. But I'm confident if others in the world, Australians and elsewhere can do it, we can absolutely do it here in British Columbia.
An Alberta professor who studies wildfire response says incorporating more volunteers makes sense, but cautions against governments encouraging folks to stay behind explicitly to fight fires, especially if they're not skilled.
Communities and people have to be extremely well prepared to be able to do that safely. And so unless that high level of preparedness is there, I wouldn't advise that.
The BC Wildfire Service acknowledges the need to integrate locals into certain firefighting situations, as happened recently in the shoe swap.
We want to work with local governments. We want to work with fire departments across BC, as well as the general public that are willing and want to support response should their communities see an impact from a wildfire in the future.
But with this year's wildfire season still underway, the province is reticent to talk too much about potential future changes to wildfire policies around evacuation zones. But that won't stop the Union of BC Municipalities conference later this month. They're expected to talk about what they would like to see from the province, considering next year's wildfire season is only 9 months away. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
As summer nears its end, the City of Vancouver is winding down its tolerance on alcohol on beaches. The pilot program launched at the beginning of June. It allowed public consumption of alcohol at 7 Vancouver beaches, but it is set to end Monday. The park board says it will be collecting feedback that will determine the future of the program. However, drinking in certain areas in several parks across the city is still permitted. And don't worry, there are technically still a few weeks more of summer to soak in. But for many, the season unofficially ends with the coming of Labor Day long weekend. Our Liam Britton spoke with some Vancouverites about how they feel as they squeeze out every last drop of summer.
For many, Labor Day long weekend marks the unofficial end of summer. The days getting shorter, the weather getting cooler, the lattes getting pumpkin spicier. But how do Vancouverites feel about this unofficial changing of the seasons? Well, we went out and we asked. It hits different, right, when kind of summer ends?
Yeah, no, it's like you're always happy when winter ends. You're happy when, like certain season starts, but when summer ends, you're like, oh, not again.
I actually think the seasonal depression thing is fully real with when it's raining and cloudy. It sucks so much.
I look forward to summer all year in Vancouver. More so the winter that I worry about.
I'm excited to wake up on a rainy morning and have a hot coffee and read, so I think I'm ready for it. I'm kind of tired of the really hot weather.
I do like the sunshine, however, I know we need the rain, and so, practically speaking, I think it'll be good for us.
I think fall's beautiful in Vancouver, or like Vancouver Island's really nice too. I think some people even prefer it to summer.
I like about fall jumping in late.
Great, this guy's got such a wonderful attitude.
The sun may be setting, but plenty to soak up still in the season's final weeks. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
After much debate, what used to be a familiar sight in Vancouver schools is set to return. 2 years ago, the district's school liaison officer program was eliminated. But last fall, Vancouver voters elected a new slate of school trustees on the promise to bring back the program. As Belle Puri reports, that will happen Tuesday.
Not only students, but police officers will return to Vancouver schools next week. The district school board has reinstated the heavily debated school liaison officer program.
No student is required to engage with SLOs. I think that's a very important part. And the program was reimagined, listening and leaning into a lot of the voices and concerns.
15 Vancouver police will have offices in 18 secondary schools, but will also work to support the city's elementary schools.
We have heard a lot of feedback from people who are in support of this program and who wants this program to come back. And we also acknowledge and appreciate some of the people who didn't have a good interaction with the police.
In the spring of 2021, the school board of the day eliminated the SLO program over concerns about the impact of a police presence on students. The controversial decision followed a review, an independent third-party report which found a majority of Black and Indigenous students don't feel police in schools helps foster a sense of safety. During last fall's civic election, the ABC party promised a return of the liaison program. In November, freshly elected school trustees passed a motion to implement a revised SLO program in time for the new school year.
I'm disappointed with the trustees, which is one of the most diverse school boards that we've ever had, would take a position that is in such opposition not only to the Black community, but to many people within the general community.
Board officials maintain the program has been revamped.
It is important to all of us to have safe, welcoming, and inclusive schools. And since the board motion in November, the VSB staff and VPD staff have been working together to work on a reimagined SLO program.
Starting Tuesday, school liaison officers will deploy with a more casual look instead of full uniforms. They'll drive unmarked vehicles, and while they will be armed, pistols won't be visible. Belle Puri, CBC News, Vancouver.
Marine officials are sounding the alarm over what they call rampant illegal fishing in Indian Arm.
People catch a rockfish, and they're not supposed to have it. They just throw it back, and they quite often die. So again, we can't have this mortality. It ultimately affects the overall conservation goal that we're striving for here, is to protect those rockfish and have the population grow.
Fishers are drawn to pink salmon stocks in the area right now, but they are also catching rockfish within 3 conservation sites. The pens are meant to increase rockfish populations. Fishery officers have handed out about a dozen tickets in the last 2 weeks.
That budgetary line item is a big deal for families right now.
The cost of preschool and before and after school care in BC is about to get cheaper for parents. We'll tell you more about the new childcare subsidy after the break. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Members of the Windsor, Ontario's Black community are once again voicing their support for the restoration of a 64-year-old structure in a park. It was center stage for many at Emancipation Day festivals decades ago. In the years since, it's been neglected, but as Dale Molnar reports, there could be new life for it yet.
I look at that and I just see so much potential.
Actor Leslie McCurdy, who is also the chair of the Black Council of Windsor-Essex, says the bandshell could be used for outdoor performances.
And I know there's a thought that there will be a stage in the new downtown Esplanade that's being built, but I've seen the plans for that. It's kind of just a little stage. It's not something that would have equipment to really do full productions, whereas this potentially could.
The bandshell used to serve as the focal point for events at numerous Emancipation Day events throughout the 1960s. Motown greats and other luminaries have graced the stage, so it's on the city's heritage register. And people in the Black community say it should be restored to preserve the city's history.
Different organizations have tried for years to get the city to come and look at restoring the bandshell. That's where the Mississippi contest was. That was where the Sunday service was.
But it would cost around $100,000 just to study what needs to be done to restore it, and a lot of things would have to be considered during the restoration.
I think the initial first steps are to determine the suitability of the structure itself and what it would take to make it a usable space, a modern space that would comply with current accessibility standards, while certainly also taking into consideration that there are heritage components of the structure. So it's very much that initial stages that is what we have to determine first.
McCurdy and Talbot say any money spent on the bandshell would be recouped by the tourism it would attract.
I always say that only with great risk comes great reward. So, and you have to spend money to make money.
I think that would be a feather in the city of Windsor's hat to have this bandshell redone.
Councillor Kieran McKenzie requested the report last year. He's in favor of moving ahead.
I think we all understand in the community the heritage and historic value of that band shell, of all of the things that have happened happened in this space over the years. So let's take a real good look at what it would take for us to return and restore this space into something that the community can once again be proud of.
The Community Services Standing Committee will receive the report next Wednesday. The committee doesn't have to take any action on the report, but if they do recommend that the city spend the money on the study, the report still has to go to City Council for approval. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
BC's childcare subsidies extension starts today.
That budgetary line item is a big deal for families right now. And so our government is taking steps to help with some of those costs that families are seeing.
The province is kicking in up to $145 per child enrolled in eligible programs. That includes half-day preschool or before and after school care. It's expected that 43,000 kids will benefit from the program. The payments will go directly to the childcare centers. Some childcare operators say the provincial government isn't paying them in a timely manner, putting them in a difficult position.
I'm definitely not the only one going through it. It creates an extremely stressful dynamic. Parents are not the people that we want to have to go to and let them know that, you know, they're on the hook for $900 extra a month with short notice. That's not something that any parent wants to hear, and it's really tricky for us to be put in that situation.
Ratcliffe is calling on the province to cut the wait times and speed up the payment process, as well as communicating openly in case of delays. Here we have a beautiful shot of the sunset this evening from Long Beach Lodge in Tofino. Less warmth in the days ahead as summer comes to a close. Darius Madavi will have our full forecast coming up next.
We reported last week on the decline of home prices in Vancouver, but houses in Vancouver are still the most expensive in North America, and apartment rents are among the most expensive. As Russ Patrick reports, college and university students are particularly hard hit this month as they search for a place to live.
The apartment vacancy rate in Vancouver is the lowest in the country, nearly 0%. And what is available is very expensive. A bachelor apartment can easily cost $350 to $500 a month. And rooms in private homes are also very expensive.
It would seem that prices are up generally 25 to 35%. That may be a reflection of mortgages that people are having to renew, or it may be some instance of people believing that the market supply situation allows them to charge more for accommodation.
Another problem facing students is the severe shortage of dormitory housing. At the University of BC, 7,000 students have signed up for on-campus housing. There are beds for only half that many. Simon Fraser University has 1,500 applications for 220 beds. At UBC, they've distributed 50,000 copies of this flyer, begging people to put up a student. New listings are posted every day, but many of them feature accommodations that are less than desirable. What are you getting $475 in one of these basement suites?
Just a room, that's it. You might have to share a bath, or you may have your own bathroom. Nothing else, no cooking.
No, not even a hot plate or anything?
Not even a hot plate. This is just a room, a sleeping room, bedroom.
But not all students are having to settle for minimum housing at maximum prices. Lori Knapp from Mississauga, Ontario, had almost given up trying to find accommodation when a room in the Peggy Forward house was listed. Forward's son is going to school back east this fall, and she decided to rent out his room. With 3 meals a day, it'll go for $300 a month. But not everyone is that lucky.
Where are you from?
From Halifax.
How long have you been looking?
Been looking for a week now.
And how does the situation look?
It doesn't look very good at all.
How much are you going to have to pay?
About $400 for 2 people.
Basement suite?
Yeah, most likely, without a kitchen.
The people who run BC's colleges and universities are worried their enrollments are going to drop if out-of-town and out-of-province students stop coming to the West Coast because of the scarcity and high cost of housing. Russ Patrick, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hey, I'm Johanna Wagstaff.
And hi there, I'm Rohith Joseph.
And we're asking for 10 minutes of your day to go through the 10 things that the UN recommends we can all do when it comes to climate change.
Please don't leave.
No.
And also, the things aren't new.
We are just wired to not do them.
We promise you to help you figure out your brains, and you and your people can make better choices to combat climate change.
10 Minutes to Save the Planet is available now on CBC Listen and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On September 16th, join CBC Vancouver at the 2nd annual Come Toward the Fire, a free outdoor festival celebrating Indigenous community, culture, and creativity. Visit cometowardthefire.com. And September is Literacy Month. Have fun and support the cause by joining CBC Vancouver's Dan Burrett at Dakota's Team Trivia Challenge on September 27th. For tickets, register at dakota.ca.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
All right, it is time now for a look at the weather. Darius, I hear we have some rain in our future forecast. Is it enough to help after the months of drought we've experiencing?
That's right, and the drought situation this year really is something else. Compared to where we were sitting last year as we were heading into a historic and record-breaking fall drought, we're in a much worse place to start off. So hopefully we see more rain than we did last fall, and that could help things out. But even though we've seen some improvement, still not a great situation to be in. Now, temperatures tomorrow as we head into the long weekend, as long as you're being careful if you go out somewhere this long weekend, pretty nice day tomorrow. Temperatures staying pretty high. As we get into Sunday and Monday, those temperatures do come down somewhat, but it'll still be a pretty pleasant temperature for, if you're going outdoors. This is Sunday. Here's Monday as well. Pretty similar story. This is as some clouds roll in. We'll also expecting to see some smoky skies, but like today, we expected to see smoky skies, but it seems some of that rain we had in the interior over the last couple days suppressed some of that smoke activity, and which is why we haven't had such bad smoke conditions here on the coast lately. Or today. So hopefully that holds out for another couple days until we have a better smoke forecast to be looking at, because Sunday and tomorrow aren't looking fantastic in terms of what we're expecting for that smoke. Now, precipitation-wise, we're clear for tomorrow, and then on Sunday, we see this quick band of precipitation pass through parts of the interior. It's supposed to clear up for parts of the interior Monday, but some places will still see some more rain. Here in Vancouver, it's likely that most of our precipitation, if we zoom in, will come on Monday. We do have that quick burst coming on Sunday that might show up for part of the afternoon, mostly further inland. And then on Monday, we do have another burst that'll probably come in the afternoon. This is a more fine model, and so we can't get out that far, but expect some potential afternoon showers on Monday. For tomorrow, things are really clearing up now. Those high temperatures seen throughout the interior And here in Vancouver, we can pretty much see everything that we just talked about. Hot and sunny day tomorrow, few showers Sunday and Monday, and then clearing up Tuesday until the showers return, potentially on Wednesday.
Thanks, Darius. That is your late news for this long weekend Friday. Thank you so much for watching. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/bc. Have a great night.